National Assembly workers begin four-day warning strike. President's Wednesday budget presentation in jeopardy. Many fed killed as 20-foot shipping container falls on cars in Lagos. On the international scene, powerful explosion at a Japanese restaurant injures 42. And in sport, Flying Eagles suffer defeats in WAFU Under-20 championships.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. National Assembly workers have begun a four-day warning strike. They blocked entrances to the National Assembly complex early on Monday and barricaded gates. Security operatives were deployed to manage the striking workers. The strike was declared last week as President Muhammadu Buhari notified the legislature that it will present the 2019 appropriation bill this week. National Assembly was to proceed on Christmas and New Year break after the presentation, but the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria warned its members would begin the strike and that there would be no worker on duty when the president would present the budget. They had picketed the chambers and paralyzed legislative activities early this month for the same reasons. Person Chairman Musa Bature said their grievances have been partially addressed. He also said the union is not preventing the president from presenting his budget on Wednesday, but there would be no assembly worker there. Meanwhile, House of Representative members are scurrying to figure out a fix for this problem as the president plans to present the budget, a possibility of which is not yet known. The workers' grievances include unpaid allowances and other unresolved sundry issues. It is an open secret that this strike was strategically scheduled to get the attention of the president and the officers of the National Assembly over their failure to satisfactorily address their grievances. With no workers at the Assembly and the gates and entrances blocked by striking workers, it is not clear how the president would present his budget to the National Assembly on Wednesday. After an earlier protest this month, the National Assembly had summoned the Minister of Finance to explain the issues. A joint committee was also set up to come up with recommendations on how best the issues could be resolved. Chairman of the House Committee on Media and Publicity, Abdulrazak Namdas, had said last week all hands were on deck to work out the situation and avert a strike. Obviously, that hasn't worked. Heads of state and governments of the Lake Chad Basin Commission had renewed their commitment to tackle the Boko Haram insurgency. At the end of a one-day summit in Abuja on Saturday, the leaders resolved to end insurgency in the Lake Chad region. In a communique issued at the end of the summit, the leaders said they are committed to a speedy implementation of the regional stabilization strategy in the areas of Lake Chad affected by Boko Haram crisis violence. The regional stabilization strategy was recently endorsed by the African Union Peace and Security Council. The flagrant disregard for traffic regulations and laws by shipping container trucks and articulated vehicles has resulted in another tragedy in Lagos over the weekend. Many people fell dead and many unaccounted for after a 20-foot shipping container fell on two cars on Saturday on a busy Lagos street in bright daylight. Heavy smoke covered the air as an unknown number of motorists and bystanders were killed. Lagos State has spelled out in its 2012 road traffic law trailers and articulated vehicles can only ply the roads between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. This was reiterated 3 years ago after another fatal shipping container accident in the city. A container-laden trailer had fallen off Ojuelegba Bridge near the National Stadium and crushed to death through motorists in their vehicles. Not quite a week after the law was reiterated, container trucks were back on Lagos roads every hour of the day without ever being apprehended by law enforcement officials. It is a grave situation where an official charged regarding the law himself is found breaking it. That is the case of a Federal Road Safety Corps official who was allegedly drunk and who caused a car accident as a result in Lagos over the weekend. The officer, Deputy Grid Commander B. Ojamiro, was reported to have been unable to react quickly to angry motorists whose vehicle he had bashed because of his alleged intoxication. His movements were said to be slow and his speech slurred. The video of the incident had gone viral on social media. Meanwhile, Federal Road Safety Corps Marshal Dr. Baboye Oyeyemi has ordered an investigation into the accident. Corps Public Education Officer Bisi Kazim says the Corps Marshal has condemned the officer's alleged behavior in its totality. She also said the Marshal was vowed to institute necessary disciplinary actions against the officer. He is quoted as saying, if found guilty, the offending officer will face the law. Iconic filmmaker Tunde Kelani has resigned as boss of the National Film and Video Censors Board. Kelani blamed his resignation on the makeup of the board and what he described as contradictions in the mentality of board members. He said in a statement that his life and career do not fit into the setup of the board. The film icon said the structure is not aware of its functions or what it is supposed to accomplish. Kelani said this has made it difficult for him to even try to fulfill those functions. The filmmaker said he has decided to resign because he needed to spend his time and energy on productive, developmental, cultural, social, and meaningful projects. He said the change expected was not possible within such a large number of 52 members. U.S. Embassy to Nigeria Stuart Simonton has advised Nigeria to diversify its economy to experience deeper growth and development. The ambassador gave the advice at the annual dinner of the Nigeria-American Chamber of Commerce annual dinner in Lagos on Sunday. In a statement delivered by Ebuka Igochukwu, the Chamber's communication manager, Simonton said Nigeria should reduce its dependence on crude oil. Another speaker at the event, Chief Olusegun Okukeye, a former NASS Foods chairman, said Nigeria has to unearth the golden opportunities for economic growth and development. To do that, he recommended agriculture and ICT, which he said are viable alternatives to crude oil. Honeywell Chairman Oba Tudeko expressed concern about the low performance of non-oil Nigerian businesses and taking advantage of African Growth and Opportunity Act. NACC President Otuba Oluwatoyin Akomolafe said the chamber was committed to improving trade relations between Nigeria and the U.S. Coming up, African stories, 2 human legs found floating in a South African dam, and later international stories, powerful Japan restaurant explosion injures 42. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and African Stories. Rwanda says it has achieved complete universal health care as 90% of its citizens are now covered under the program. This makes the country one of the few developing countries in the world that have their citizens fully covered in health insurance programs. Management of the program in Rwanda was taken over in 2004 by Rwanda's Social Security Board. The scheme is being described as one of the most successful on the continent. It has been praised for reducing maternal and infant mortality rates to 77% and 70% respectively since 2000. A gruesome discovery has been made in South Africa where 2 human legs have been found floating in a Limpopo dam. Police say the legs may belong to a man that was reported missing a week ago. Police began a search and rescue operation at the Nandoni Dam after they received reports on Saturday that Uwara Skiwari has disappeared. Police authorities say they would still wait until the outcome of their investigation, including forensic tests, to determine whether the two floating legs belong to the missing man. 62 al-Shabaab militants are reported killed in U.S. airstrikes in Somalia over the weekend. The U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM, said an unknown al-Shabaab encampment near the southern end of Ganshashe was targeted by the strikes. AFRICOM says there were no civilian casualties. U.S. forces say the strikes were part of a campaign to prevent the Islamic group from establishing safe havens in southern and central Somalia. Ethiopia says it has started disbanding its troops from the Eritrean border. It says this is to honor the peace deal signed by the two countries in July, ending 2 decades of a border dispute that has claimed tens of thousands of lives. The Eritrean government has made the troops withdrawal a major part of its demand before the deal was struck. The two countries were at war from 1998 to 2000, although they signed a peace accord 2 years later. Bad blood between the two countries continued. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed jump-started reforms in his country that have reinstated trade and diplomatic ties between the two countries. Despite international ban on ivory trade, some dealers still find a way to ship contraband products around the world. Following a tip-off by the U.S. Embassy in Cambodia, authorities have just seized more than 3 tons of African ivory at Phnom Penh seaport on Thursday. Authorities say the shipment arrived in Cambodia last year, but no one has showed up to claim the contents. Cambodian customs officials say the elephant's tusks were hidden among marble in the abandoned container. Cambodia has become an important transit point for the shipment of the legal items because of demand from China and Vietnam. There is a belief among wildlife campaigners that 30,000 African elephants are poached every year in Africa. A ban was placed on international ivory trade in 1990. A 4,400-year-old tomb said to be the final resting place of a high priest had been discovered by archaeologists in Egypt. The tomb was found in the Saqqara Pyramid complex near Cairo and has colorful hieroglyphs and statues of pharaohs. Archaeologists started excavation on Sunday and expect more discoveries. They hope to find the priest's coffin soon. Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, Mustafa Waziri, has described the discovery as one of a kind in the last decades. When we return, international stories: 42 injured in Japan restaurant explosion, and latest sports: Flying Eagles lose a WAFU Under-20 championships. We'll be right back.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Shining our eyes on breaking news, whether in the east or in the west, with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Boko Haram in Nigeria, with turbulence in the north and agitation in the south. Wherever you live in Nigeria, Wherever news happens in Africa, we've got it covered. ANN News, connecting Africans in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. On the foreign scene, many residents of Sapporo in northern Japan are still in shock today after a suspected gas explosion injured 42 persons in a restaurant. The building that also housed a real estate office was destroyed. The explosion in Sapporo, capital city of Japan's northern main island of Hokkaido, threw debris across the area. Some residents said the explosion felt like an earthquake. Police say all injuries except one were not serious. A shelter has been set up to accommodate dozens who were rendered homeless by the blast. There was a public outcry between British Prime Minister Theresa May and former Prime Minister and Labour Party leader Tony Blair over the Brexit deal. May was just short of calling Blair's pronouncements irresponsible, but she said Blair was insulting voters and that his actions could undermine her government. Blair says the way to break the current impasse between the Parliament and the Prime Minister is to hold another Brexit referendum. Blair was Prime Minister from 1997 to 2007. He was accused, the Conservative leader, Theresa May, of being irresponsible. Blair, who is against exiting the EU, is seizing on May's and has Miss May's unpopular deal in the House of Commons to galvanize the public to demand a new vote. China has reconsidered and given Canadian diplomats a chance to meet the second of two of its citizens been held by Beijing for more than a week now. Two Canadians, businessmen Marcus Pavor and a former diplomat Michael Kovrig, have both been detained in China since the arrest in Canada of Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou at the request of the United States. She's on bail in Canada awaiting extradition hearing. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada is against the detentions in Beijing. He also says his government takes the matter very seriously. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said on Friday the two men should be freed. For the first time, an Arab leader, Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir, has visited Damascus since the Syrian war began 8 years ago. He was received in the capital by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The two leaders are said to have discussed relations and issues of common interest to Arab countries. Al-Bashir is reported to have expressed the hope at their meeting that Syria will soon regain its leading role in the region. He is also said to have promised his country's support to protecting Syria's territorial integrity. One of the latest moves towards ending the 17-year offensive between Afghanistan and the Taliban is taking place on Monday as the Taliban meets in the United Arab Emirates with U.S. officials. Saudi Arabia, Pakistani and Emirati representatives will participate in the talks. Afghan officials are not participating in Monday's meeting, but they are present in the UAE. The body language is to let all sides know they are ready to talk, even though the Taliban has said it will hold direct talks with the Afghan government. Still ahead, sport. Flying Eagles suffer defeat at WAFU Under-20 Championships. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
If you know fit go internet or follow for Twitter, you know fit snap photo send or get it photo send. Now because you dey use Palasa, your phone no dey answer. See me see wahala. My brother, go get smartphone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no go for your hand, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no fit take selfie. Drop that Palasa phone. No be correct phone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone.
Upgrade to a smartphone today and get double data for 6 months on any MTN data bundle you buy. Simply purchase a smartphone from any store anywhere in Nigeria or bring your current smartphone from any network. Insert your MTN SIM card to start enjoying your double data bonus. Offer is open to all new and existing MTN subscribers. Join the largest smartphone movement today.
Make it up for your hand. That's Palasa phone.
sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, Lindsay, you alright? Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Shining our eyes on breaking news, whether in the east or in the west, with Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Boko Haram in Nigeria, with turbulence in the north and agitation in the south. Wherever you live in Nigeria, wherever news happens in Africa, we've got it covered. ANN News, connecting Africans in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sports. Nigeria's under-20 football team, the Flying Eagles, lost 2-0 to Senegal in the final of the 2018 Under-20 Waffle Cup in Lomé on Sunday. Senegal dominated in the first half, but were unable to find a way past the Flying Eagles defense led by skipper Ekwemel Udo. Earlier, Mali beat host Niger 2-1 to claim third position in the competition. Nigerian boxer Larry Ekundayo has retained his International Boxing Federation European welterweight title with a victory over Louis Green of the United Kingdom. Ekundayo defeated Green after 10 rounds at the York Hall in London. He led on every judge's scorecards to win a unanimous decision. And that is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and other stories, visit the website annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.